So what is our intro? We're we're still working out the kinks of this.
Yeah.
Um,
We're trying to think of something catchy is the thing.
Definitely. But we also haven't put any thought towards it. So today is the second episode of our podcast. By the time this comes out, um, I have it scheduled coming out Wednesday the 26th, I
26?
think.
Yeah.
So also have this one coming out on a Wednesday, um, Lord willing. But my birthday has just passed, and our anniversary has just passed, and it's already July, which is
By the
kind of
time this
crazy.
comes out, yeah.
Right. So yeah, today's episode is just I think something that was needed to be put out there at the beginning, which is just our job history. But first, we're going to jump into Lizzie's gotten her phone the verse of the day because my phone is filming. So yeah.
And then I'll read the verse, and then Noah can kind of give some context behind it and kind of explain his point of view of it. So the verse of the day is Hebrews 4:9. There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. So
Hand it over. Let's see here. Okay. There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God.
it's referring to the Sabbath day.
Okay, so Sunday is what Christians call the day of rest because God created the world in 6 days and then on the seventh day He rests. But in our case, we Sundays are a day of church and stuff. So I know a lot of churches, most churches do their Sunday service morning and night and Sunday school, whatnot. But the Bible commands us to rest, and we shouldn't take that lightly. Me and Lizzie have a lot of problems with resting because our lives are going at like a million miles a minute. But it is biblical that you need to rest, and our pastor Chris, probably a few weeks ago now, I remember his whole message was on the importance of rest and how like he struggles with it as well. So what I get from Hebrews 4:9, um, you know, everyone needs rest, and especially like the people of God, especially if you're working a normal day job or if you're working in ministry. I just believe it's very important for anyone to get rest, and I think it's a very biblical thing because we're reading scripture that says it's important to rest. So definitely a good encouragement for the day.
And reminder,
And
because
we did rest and sleep in a little bit today because Lizzie's got a day off. I got to go into work later. So just next time you want to sleep in, remember it is biblical to get
it's
rest,
okay.
but it's also that doesn't mean you can be lazy. So today our episode is our job history. Now we've had some very interesting jobs. So the way we're gonna do it is Lizzie's gonna go first and give all of her job history. So probably however you can keep that like try to keep it like 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll go into my job history, try to keep that 15 to 20 minutes, Lord willing, because we know we talked a lot last time.
Yeah.
Um,
And there's a lot to
there's a lot to go
unpack.
into, so you don't have to go in depth with every
Yeah.
job, but like the jobs that like actually you spend the most time at, probably go more in depth for that. But
And I'm going to need your help on
yeah,
some dates.
for sure. The dates may not be
I mean,
completely
like,
accurate.
when it comes to years or.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, we will jump right into Lizzie's, and then mine will follow. And then at the end of the podcast, we're going to try a new segment. We're going to try to add a new segment to the end of every podcast. So in this case, my good friend ChatGPT has auto-generated 5 questions for couples on a podcast, and we'll see how that goes. So Lizzie, you can take it away. I'm just gonna, I think I talked a lot in the last episode, so I'm gonna let you cook, and I will give feedback when it is needed. So
Okay. So I guess to start off, I guess you wouldn't really consider this a job, but I did volunteer at a nursing home. It was either for 2 or 3 summers. It was a well-known nursing home in our area. It was more on the nicer side of nursing homes. You had healthcare, memory care. You had not only was it a nursing home, like couples, like let's say older couples that were retired. Let's say they didn't want to live in a house. they could live in this community of like a nursing home facility. So I worked there, I think 2 or 3 consecutive summers, and I absolutely loved it. That is where I really found my love for like the elderly. Um, and we would do things. We would lead games and activities and throw parties for them, just to like bring a little bit of joy in their life. Because, I mean, I guess for the most part, I would say it's half and half. Like some of the elderly people's families come and visit them, but like some don't. So I guess just like being able to visit them and let them talk, because with a lot of like elderly people, I think their problem is like people don't listen to them. um so just being the one to listening to them, and we would paint like the lady's fingernails, and, and like we would like make bracelets with them and do crafts and activities and bingo. I was the one that always led bingo, and they would like win candy if they like won it. And then we would like, when we were about to leave for the summer, we would throw a huge party. Um and yeah, it was awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. 10 out of 10 experience. I met some good friends there too that I volunteer alongside. And I also like learned some things, I guess, for like my professional life. There was like a lot of like HIPAA violations, like you couldn't, um, I don't know, like you couldn't break, like you couldn't take pictures of the older people, and just like a lot of different things. So it was more. I learned some things on the professional side too. So that was my like first, I guess, kind of like job, and like I said, I didn't get paid for that. That was volunteer, and it was 2 days a week for maybe 6 hours a day. So
And the funny thing is, I don't know if you remember, but when I heard like Lizzie was going to be doing like volunteering work, I was like, so like kind of what's the point if you're not getting paid? Like that's how I always view things. I was like, I'm kind of a penny pincher, so I try to get money out of most things. And at the time, I was like, so you're working for no money, and she got experience with it, and obviously like she found something she's interested in, and she gets to put something on her resume. But like I don't know if
Noah,
you remember, but like at
yeah,
that time I was like, so you're working for no money? Like I didn't see the point.
no, he didn't understand. Which, I mean, I wasn't like so caught up in money in that time. I'm about to sneeze. Oh, bless me. Sorry, y'all.
Bless you.
Thank you. So yeah, Noah was like, "What is the point?" And I'm like,
I like hounded her though. Like I was
"Yes, he
just
was
like
hounding
every
me."
time she worked, I was like, so you're working for no pay? Like like I pretty much did that every time she worked. But looking back now, like it was definitely a good experience for her, and
And
it gave
I,
her good
yeah,
experience in like the elderly field, and that's definitely something that she's interested in moving forward. I'm sure.
and I mean, with that, like when I was in the environment, I didn't even look at it as a job. I'm like, "Oh, this is like fun. Like I'm having the time of my life with elderly people." Like it was awesome, and I wasn't even worried about like getting not getting paid or anything.
Right.
So that experience was awesome. 10 out of 10. So that was my first like kind of job. My second one was a snow cone place near us. So one of my best friends, hi honey.
Hey,
So she really wants to be involved in the video, and she's now rubbing against the microphone.
she's gonna be in every
Yeah,
episode. It's just
it's
inevitable.
inevitable for sure. And she's now making biscuits on the couch. Anyways,
Wonderful.
okay, so my second experience was a snow cone place. I started that COVID year. I'm almost positive, so 2020. Um, and one of my best friends, Lacey, worked there before I did, so she kind of like that's how I knew about it. Um, I interviewed, got the job. So I trained for a little bit, and honestly, like weeks later, I was like at the place by myself. I was opening by myself, doing my work by myself, closing by myself. Um, After like 2 or 3 weeks. So I actually did like it starting off with. I was there probably 3 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was there 3 years. It was great.
But this was more obviously snow cones, so it was like a summer. Like it started what in like
Yeah,
April,
so
May, ended
it's
in like
yeah, so
August,
like
September.
this was more of a summer gig. So again, so it wasn't like year round. It was like April to August. Yeah, April to August or March to August. Um so I did that for 3 years, 3 summers. It was this to say the least, it was a great like starter job. I got a base pay like by the hour, and then I made gradient tips. So funny story about that. We so it used to be a chain snow cone place, and then it was a small business. It like turned into a small business. Um, so we were doing like a school spirit night.
Let's make sure we're still rolling.
Okay,
You
no
never
worries.
know. We're good.
Yeah. So we were doing a school spirit night for a local elementary school, and our small business has never done this before. So I don't think that the owner was expecting a lot. So I was by myself. May I remind you? I look out. Okay, remember. So I'm by myself. I am. We have these blocks of ice, and we put them in this thing. And if they are not perfect, they fly out and hit you in the face. Okay, if that does not happen at least once a day, you don't work there. Like it's inevitable. It's not you're a bad employee. It happens to everyone. So I mean I have caught in midair probably 100 pieces of blocks of ice. This is not pieces.
It's
This
like
is
yeah,
this is bigger than a brick. I mean, this
yeah.
is
We have another story about that. We'll mention in a second. But
yeah. So these are blocks of ice. So may I remind you, I'm by myself. It's a school spirit night. I'll look out the window because it's like a window people are coming up to and ordering. I'll look out. There's probably 100 people in line. I'm by myself. I am freaking out because like we only have a cooler of ice. So if we run out, like okay, I can cut ice. That takes forever, and I'm by myself. So I am cutting ice. I'm putting in the cup. I am let's see here. What else am I doing? I'm putting syrups in the cup, gummies, whatever they want, bringing them up, taking their, all the things. Like I'm doing everything. I'm doing like a 5-person job. So may I remind you, I did make $200 in tips. That took probably 5 years off my life. So other than that, I mean, it was a great experience, for the most part. And like it was a great first starter job. You know, working there during the summers, I was able to really save my money up. So no one I could get like married early. So that was my second job. Do you have anything to say about that?
well, just one thing from the job, because Lizzie definitely enjoyed it. The one time, thankfully, I was there with her one time,
Oh
and
my goodness, I forgot about this.
she she was I think it was about she was about to close, and she
So
so to explain
let me give
because I'm not
context.
good at
Yeah,
explaining.
okay.
Yeah.
So we have these. Okay, I'm gonna show you how big. Hold this for a second. These things of ice are like they're metal canisters. They're called metal canisters.
Yeah.
They're like this tall, and you fill it with water, and there's a separator in the middle of the canister. So that is 2 things of ice. Well, there's this huge cooler. You put the water in that freezes the water into
Yeah.
like ice blocks. So every shift you were required to pull 6 metal canisters, which equals out to 12 ice blocks because there's 2 blocks of ice in
Okay.
each of the 6 canisters. So it like it's kind of how do I explain this? So they're like metal canisters. So they're sharp.
Very sharp. Yeah.
They're very sharp. So what happened was I can start it and then you can finish it. So I already cut the ice. I had to refill the canisters with water to put back in the cooler. So the canister is metal and the cooler is metal too. So I was putting the canister that of that already of the ice I already cut back in the cooler. So I smashed my finger between when I was putting the canister back in the cooler. I smashed it, and I still have it's this finger. There's still a scar. I smashed it between the canister and the cooler, and Noah is never there.
Mm-mm.
He literally just comes to drop me off food. I'm like, the Lord really like was on my side that day because well, he's on my side. But I was like, he was really watching out for me that day because I'm like, if Noah wasn't there, so Noah, you can continue this.
So Lizzie is her fingers cut open. Like I was like, okay, just walk it off.
It's smashed.
It's smashed.
And there is blood.
And there's blood gushing everywhere.
And I'm there by myself.
And it's dripping from where she's walking to where I was sitting. And I'm just like, okay, Lizzie, you're going to be okay. She literally told me, okay, Noah, you need to close the shop up. I had no idea what I was doing. She just like panicked. So I was just like, I went up to the window to these customers and I was like, yeah, my wife had an accident in the back. So we're going to have to close early for the night. And then I closed the window and then put the close sign out.
Okay, and thankfully we closed at 8.
It was like 7:40.
I mean, it was close.
Yeah,
it was 7:30 to 7:45.
So I get back from closing the shop up. All I did was just close the window because I didn't know what to do with the money and stuff. But I go over there and I'm just like, Lizzie, just calm down. And eventually Lizzie's like laying on the floor. She asked me to get a paper towel and wet it to put on her head because she was feeling really dizzy, as well as to get something for her finger. And I was stressing out. I had no idea where paper towels were because I rarely went to this snow cone place. And by the time I get everything wet, Lizzie is on the floor and her eyes start she starts shaking, her eyes start closing, and I'm like, did my girlfriend just die? And I've never been so scared in my life because obviously we had a very bright future together, but I'd never been in the
you never see someone
in the presence of somebody passing out, and I thought it was much more serious than it was, but I was trying to be like, I was like, Lizzie, like I was trying to get her to wake up, and eventually after like 15, 25 seconds, like she was back, but like I called her mom. And she took her to the what was it, the emergency room?
Yeah, it was UNC emergency room.
So, and we ended up sitting in the waiting room for an hour and a half, probably.
I was just trying to make sure
that it wasn't like
I was making
serious.
Sure that because it was metal against metal.
Yeah.
And I was making sure that I couldn't like get an infection from that. That was my main thing.
Yeah.
Like it was purple and it did not look great.
Right.
But my concern was an infection.
Yeah.
So we get to the emergency room, wait forever, get into a room. We're still waiting forever.
Yeah.
The doctor finally comes in, and he looks at me. He's like, pretty much. I mean, in summary, everything
was fine.
Everything was fine.
But it was just like that moment. Like thankfully, I was there. The only time like something like this happened, and it was just like some of that stuff is very unsafe for somebody to do by themselves. So I'm glad I was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like the one experience I remember the most from that snow cone place. So I guess let's not stay here too long and go into the next segment of the next job.
Yeah.
So Lizzie's had 6 jobs compared to my 2, so she's going to be yapping a little bit longer than I will. But
I forgot the daycare.
Huh?
Forgot the daycare.
Well, you can just add it in.
Okay, so.
I mean, it was very temporary. I mean, you can mention it, but it doesn't need to be like talked about for a long time.
Yeah. So, I was at a daycare for a little bit, and then, may I remind you, I'm not like when it comes, it's like okay, Lizzie's had 6 jobs. I started working when I was pretty young, and I had the snow cone and a job I'm about to mention, the coffee shop. I had those at once. Like I was working 2 at once. So it's not like I'm like a quitter or anything. It's just there was just a lot happened.
A lot of opportunities and
There was a lot of opportunities.
opportunities for you to get experience and
Yeah,
like try new things and see you kind of
yeah,
what you want. It's not like you said you didn't quit
yeah,
every single job. Rather,
yeah,
like some things happen and you were like, no,
yeah.
So
So I worked at daycare for a little bit, and then when I was getting my 2 year degree in high school, um, there was this lady's house that we knew that needed someone. She needed someone to clean it. She wanted someone to clean it. I cannot remember how many days a week, maybe like 3 or 4.
yeah,
But this is the thing with cleaning. This is what I found, because I love to clean. I think I'm like pretty good at cleaning. Um, I can get it done fast. So when someone says, "Okay, I'm going to pay you $15 an hour," for example, let's say that. Okay, I can get everything done in 2 hours. So therefore, I'm making $30 a day.
yeah,
So that's what I found with cleaning. This this lady wanted to pay by the hour, which is totally good. But if you own a business, by the job is the best way to charge, not by the hour. So that was that. And then my next job was the coffee shop that I'm still currently at. Um, I'm only there right now, like every other Saturday. Um, but no one knows. I have always dreamed of working at a coffee shop. Like it's been my thing. So this opportunity like came up, and I was like, I really just think I need to be a barista for a little bit to get it out of my system. So it's so funny because I tell people this for the first like 2 or 3 months. This was my regular coffee shop that me and Noah went to before I started working there. Like it was our place. And for the first 2 or 3 months, like I would go in and forget I was getting paid. Like that is it. Like it was to that point. Like I loved it so much. You know, still close. Like with a lot of the staff and the managers and my boss. Um, I mean, I love it. Like I loved it. I still do. Um, but yeah, it was awesome. I feel like I was playing like Papa's Freezeria. Have you ever played that game? Um, with like I don't know, it was just awesome. Like growing connections with people. People would come in. For example, if their day was terrible, or no, one's checking on the cat.
you can keep talking.
Okay, Noah, like the thing is with the coffee shop, it's like someone people come in, if they just had a job promotion, if their day was terrible, if they just lost a loved one. So just, people coming in and just being able to kind of like encourage them, or, kind of like rejoice with them. It was just fun and just like building connections. So that was that. And it's funny. So one of my best friends, Lacey, we were at the snow cone place together, and then I told her about this job. Well, I initially told her boyfriend. I told Aaron about this job because he was looking for a job. I'm like, well, I follow this coffee company, and like they're hiring a barista. So I told him, and Lacey was like, actually, I think I might apply for it. So Lacey
Yeah,
goes in.
it's funny because
Yeah,
no, didn't mean to interrupt,
no,
but
you're good.
it's funny because you and Lacey, like a lot of these jobs, like that's kind of how y'all became really good friends, and
Yeah,
like
because
you and like if it wasn't for Lacey, you would have never got the snow cone job. If it wasn't for you, Lacey would have never got
yes,
the coffee shop job.
yeah, yeah. So I told her. Well, initially told her boyfriend about it, and then she ended up wanting to do this. Um, so I told her about this, and then she let me know of a position that was open up. I applied. I got the job, and I was there. I'm still there, like every other Saturday, but I was there a year, and and then I put it on like not pause, but kind of because I was working like 4 or 5 days a week there. So I like stepped back, and then I got this internship. But yeah, I love being a barista was awesome. I loved it. And then I got this internship with a Chick-fil-A in like the Raleigh area. It's like an HR internship because with my major, that's like one of the things I can go into. Um, I'm not quite sure what I want to go into. I think I'm going to go into HR, but this is why I wanted to do the internship to see, okay, is this something that I want to do? Because an internship, it's supposed to be temporary. It's not supposed to be permanent. So if you don't like it, then okay, it's temporary anyway. Rather than with a job, it's like, okay, well, if I hate this, then I'm going to have to quit a job, and my next employer is going to want to know why I'll only stay there for 6 months or whatever. So I'm there currently. My internship ends mid August, and I started May 1st. So I'm like halfway through, which is crazy. So I'm getting experience in that area a lot with,
Keep
um,
talking.
a lot with like HR and recruiting. That's like our main thing. Reference calls. It's a lot of recruiting. HR work. Yeah, I enjoy it, and not only am I doing HR work, but I'm in operations at Chick-fil-A for 3 hours a day. There's honey. So I'm mainly a leader in drive-through. That's one of my main things in operations that I do. Um, and I'm wherever I've been on desserts. That was fun. Front front register, mobile orders, different things. So not only am I, in an office the whole entire time, but I'm in operations. So interacting with customers, customer service for like 3-ish hours a day. So that's where I'm currently at. Um, I guess I'm still in the midst of praying where I'm going to go next. So we'll see. But that is the current update for right now. Um,
Yeah. So if you didn't follow, you started out at you started out volunteering at a rest home. Next, you started snow cone, and then
so
wait, is that right?
No, so I did it a little bit out of order.
Okay.
So it was you're right. I mentioned that order,
Right.
but
Okay.
so it was volunteering.
Cleaning,
It was volunteering. It was the daycare,
daycare, cleaning,
cleaning, snow
snow
cones,
cones,
coffee,
coffee,
and then
Chick
Chick
Fil
Fil
A.
A.
Okay.
But I did so I'm doing coffee and Chick Fil A both right now,
Yeah.
and I did coffee and
Snow
snow
cones.
cones at
Yeah.
the same time. So it's not like, oh wow, she has like 6 jobs separately. Well, I'm doing 2 jobs like right now, and then snow cones and coffee. I did that at the same time for a little bit. So
Yep. So Lizzie's job history is more, I guess, more quantity, and then mine is, I guess, more like quality since I've kind of stayed um, at my jobs longer. And that's not anything against you,
yeah,
but rather it's just kind of how everything played out
yeah,
because
and a
you
lot
were
of
just testing the
yeah. These
waters.
were like these were very starter jobs. I was in. Oh my goodness. For all of these, was I in high school? No, for my coffee shop job in Chick-fil-A, I was not in high school.
But
But
everything
for
else,
everything else, I was in high school.
yeah.
So one was like volunteering to get experience. The rest were like, okay, starter jobs. Me, I don't want to get married young. I want to save up money. Um, so that's how that went down. But no one's not going to jump into his job experience.
Yeah, but um, with her rest home, I never visited her there, so I don't really have much to say about that. But the two I have to say most about is the coffee shop and Polar Pan, or is the coffee shop and the snow cone place. Because that's where I kind of knew the people the best, and it's also where I think the coffee shop has been my favorite so far because I really get along with a lot of the employees. Especially Lacey. She's one of our best friends. And then all the rest of the people there are so nice. There's a lady there that we get our chicken nuggets and honey from Costco.
Yeah.
We just like it's been really good. It's been really good for connections as well, and I've even wrote papers about the coffee shop because I really enjoy just going in there and just chilling out and just vibing and writing papers, and I really enjoyed the coffee shop. That's probably been my favorite.
And they also cater, well, they cater a coffee bar for a wedding.
Yeah.
So they do it all.
Yeah.
We love everyone there.
Yeah. That's definitely been my favorite so far. But
yeah.
Jumping into mine, it's a lot less jobs, but a lot more, I guess, tenure. Shout out to Adam and Marissa. Didn't know the meaning of
Well,
tenure.
I didn't either.
Tenure. You can look it up in the dictionary. It is a word. Tenure. Um, but my job history has been pretty simple. Back in 2018, in the summer of 2018, I started working for a summer camp. The reason I knew about this summer camp was because of my brother, and he was kind of the one that got me in to get to put in an application, and I knew the pastor of the church that they were associated with, and he was also the camp leader. So I knew him pretty well through my brother, and I got the job there through the summer of 2018 and the summer of 2019. Two of the best summers of my life, and definitely got to meet a ton of people that I would say I'm still close to today. A lot of people that had ties through the Christian school that we went to as well. I got to grow with a lot of my friends from the Christian school, which was really cool. And it was just a really good environment. Definitely, I think Lizzie started out rating her job, so I would definitely give the camp experience a 10 out of 10. I did a little bit of everything. I, gained a relationship with the kids, worked behind the register in the snack shop, just helped out with games, did whatever I could. Um, I was also in the boat of, I kind of forgot I was getting paid um, at the time, but the thing was, the pay wasn't really that good, but it's more of a ministry thing, and that's kind of the way I view it now. At the time, the paychecks I thought I was getting, like, I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm making XYZ in a 2 week period when I worked, 80 plus hours. And I was just like, this money is real and it's going in my bank account. But looking back, the money definitely isn't there, for stuff like that. But at the same time, it's not for the money. And I never really viewed it for the money. It was more for like the ministry aspect of it. And just the friendships and relationships I made, I have tons of photos in my camera roll, just memories throughout those 2 summers. And memories I'll definitely always hold in my heart dearly to me. A lot of people, meant a lot to me there. And I remember one time, it was extremely random, but it was the summer I wasn't even working there anymore. Some of the people that were, campers there got me a birthday cake, a cookie cake for my
I
birthday.
remember that. I mean, you went
We
there.
went there like for no reason. Like they just were like, okay, pull up, and I was like, okay, bet. And they literally had me a cookie cake, like, and that was like past the time I stopped working there. Like that was during, like, I think that was 2020 during COVID, and I feel like I had a really good impact on a lot of those kids, and they still remember me, as their camp counselor, as somebody that cared for them, and I definitely still try to keep in contact with a decent amount of them through Instagram and things like that. And I definitely think that, at the time, like, I wouldn't say I was like the best Christian, but being at a Christian camp, being around fellow Christians and fellow believers, it really helps to increase your faith and strength, in Christ. And I think that was a really good help for me. And that was my first job. So come the
So I just wanted to say something about that. So I went to the camp a few times, like to visit. I want to say, but me and Noah were super fresh into dating during that time. So,
Yep.
so we were at the point where it's like, oh my goodness, like we have to be texting all the time.
Right.
Well, that was one of the, like, I would say one of the hardest summers of my life because Noah, well, he was having the time of his life, and I was like, I would let Noah do his thing, but it was like, okay, well, he would, there would be a new group every week. So, it was really hard for him to like call and text because he was always, conducting something or doing something, and the internet was terrible.
And they asked me to spend the night for, we
Wait,
call it like
yes,
combo week and like junior teen week, whatever. There was 2 weeks out of the summer that I
yes,
spent the night. That's kind of when Lizzie felt the most of it, because not only was I working the whole day, but at night as
like I
well.
would
Like we
not,
were like
yeah,
just chilling around, all the workers and stuff, all the
like
staff.
I would not see him for. I mean, it was like weeks at a time.
Yeah.
So that was rough,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm glad you got to experience
Yeah,
that. So,
for sure. And we were definitely both immature in our, young age. So like,
oh, for sure.
I wasn't really giving the effort to text because I was busy with everything else, and also that wasn't fair for Lizzie. When I would text her, and then I was playing Fortnite with my boy Bradley, and then I wouldn't text her for another hour after she texted me back, and then it just didn't go smoothly. So
Yeah,
big
yeah.
shouts out to my brother for helping me get that job. The good thing about me is these two jobs I've had, I've just had somebody a foot in the door with a person. My next job happened during COVID. It was the summer of COVID, and I don't think they were opening camp back up, so I wasn't going to go back to camp. As well as I didn't know if it was safe to go back to camp, with the COVID because we didn't know
And be
how.
around so many people.
Yeah, being around so many people, my health and safety um, was in not danger, but like I don't know what the word
It
is.
was it was at risk.
It was at risk for sure. And summer of 2020 came, and I was not necessarily looking for a job, but I needed a job, and my birthday had just passed or whatever, and I wanted to get some shoes that I've been wanting for my birthday, and these two shoes were Vans. So I so these two Vans were the Vans Yacht Clubs, which I still have to this day. I've got multiple pairs of them, but the Yacht Clubs and the Flame Vans, which I've parted ways with. But these were two of the Vans I've always wanted, and my one of my best friends I wouldn't say he was one of my best friends, but at the time, not as close as we are now. But my friend Adam, I knew he worked at the Vans store, so I reached out to him. I was like, "Is there any way you can, get these shoes for me, and I'll pay you back for them?" He was like, "Yeah, absolutely," and it was kind of like a birthday present to myself. So I got the two shoes, and me and Adam were just like kind of talking through Instagram DMs. If I didn't mention his name's Adam Rohr, now one of my closest friends. But Adam mentioned to me that Vans, I don't know how it came up. I don't remember exactly, but he mentioned to me that Vans, that he worked at Vans. Obviously, that's how I got the shoes. But he also mentioned to me that they were hiring. And I really wasn't looking for a job, but at the same time, I wanted a job. Um, so Adam was able to get me an interview. I was able to go through the interview, and excuse me, because of Adam, I got the job at Vans. So that I started in August of 2020. Now, fast forward, um, June of 2024, when we're filming this, I am still at Vans. So shout out to Adam because without him, I don't know where I would be. Adam was definitely a godsend at that time, and Vans is definitely it's been a great gig for over the past 4 years.
But Noah, like he didn't stay. Like, of course, he started off as an associate, but
Yeah, I was
you
about to.
kept, yeah,
Yeah, I was about to get into that.
yeah, explain that.
So started off as a sales associate in August of 2020. Um, when I was a sales associate, I'm telling you what, I was grinding. Like I was, I was the top salesman every single month. Every
So he was
single,
putting in the work.
I was putting in the hours and the work. Like, and my hours showed that I was getting really good shifts. I was getting, the amount of shifts I wanted a week. And back in 2020, 2021, we had the absolute like Avengers of Vans workers. Like our whole squad was we had like 26 workers, and every single one of them was like really good. Um, we'll get into the staff now a little bit later, but our staff was like insane. Our management staff was so good. Like there was no weak links to our team. So fast forward, we have a lot of management changes. So towards the end of 2022, I want to say it was also around the August area. A position opened up for me to become the sales lead. So a sales lead is someone that is a manager with no keys. So that obviously doesn't make sense. But now they've kind of changed up the rules a little bit. So I was promoted in, I think, August of 2022 to a sales lead, which was pretty much a sales associate with better pay and more. You could be more of a manager and have more, I guess, say in things, and you can like delegate things to associates. So also after that, I guess was doing really good in my sales lead role, and a position opened up for a full time floor supervisor, and I was hired as the full time floor supervisor in January of 2023.
which is perfect because we were about to get married that year.
Yep. So
So
perfect timing for the job. Full time gig, 32 hours a week, um, and that's the position I am in now. Which started off in January of 2023, and I am still there June of 2024. So I've been in that role for about a year and a half. But Vans over the years, I have gotten. I would not like to look back and see how much money I've spent at Vans because it has to be in the thousands. I wouldn't say it was. I don't think it's as close to 10,000 as I might think, but it's definitely up there in the thousands.
but this is the thing with you. Like it's an outlet. It's not like a full price store.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting stuff that's already discounted,
Yeah.
and then I'm getting a discount on top of that as well. So, um, so I've been with Vans for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in August, and just the dream team of 2020, 2021. It was insane, our squad. But throughout the years, it's just slowly gone downhill when it comes to not only the job, but also the staff. You will not believe this, but after we have two people right now that have put in their 2 weeks notice. So after they are gone, we'll only have 8 workers, which is insane. Now, right now, our staff is at 10 people, but it's about to be 8. But we're actively hiring. Yeah, that's 4 managers, 4 associates right now. Like, we have 2 that are about to be out, but 8 people at a retail store that used to be to hover around 26. That just kind of shows you how downhill things have went. Not only really it's just like people find new jobs, people kind of get burned
I was
out.
gonna say, I mean, it's a mix of both. Like
It's a mixture of a lot of things.
people are
like
going like
people are growing up and
Yeah.
wanting to find new jobs and stuff like that.
Yeah, more adult jobs. Yeah.
For sure. But I've had a really good almost 4 years at Vans. Shout out to Adam because he put me into that sales associate position. Like if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't even have gotten hired because a lot of people apply for seasonal sales associate. And from seasonal, I was hired on to core. From core, I became sales lead. From sales lead to full time floor soup, and that's what I'm in now. And I could give shout outs to everyone I've ever worked with, but that would take out a lot of time. But I've had some really really good friendships. I wouldn't even call them relationships. I would call them friendships for sure because me and a lot of these guys and people go way back, back to 2020. When I got hired in 2020, there was about 6 of us that were hired in 2020, and pretty much all of us had stayed up until 2024. And like all of those people I worked with, they were all guys. Like we all clicked like that, and we've all kind of like kept up with each other outside of work and always been friends. And I send a lot of memes to my friends from work. So
even I mean, how many came to our wedding?
yeah, it was my whole pretty much management. I would say
I mean,
10 of my
we had a
associates.
We had a whole table of your closest Vans workers from our wedding.
Yeah, and like at the time, I was really close to these people, and they were really close to me, and like I couldn't see them not at my wedding. But like now, it's down to maybe 2 or 3 at the Vans store now that I would actually invite to my wedding. But it was just kind of like the way things played out. But you guys know who you are if you're watching. Like I really appreciate what you guys have done for me, and I don't think I would stay at Vans for so long if it wasn't for the staff that we had. Obviously I love the discount, but the staff has always been number one for me. Like the people I've had around me, it's always been a great experience for me. And I can go on and on about Vans, spending a lot of money with my discount, the amount of sales goals I've made, the amount of session leader of the months I've gotten, star of the months I've gotten. Like I could talk about it for hours, but right now I am I've actually led the store in sales for the past 4 years. I've made over 650 grand for the store, which is, when the percentage comes to it, it's about 7% of our store's business in the past 4 years, which I think is really cool. And this is going to kind of segue into my most recent job experience. So in January, I was kind of getting a little burnout as well with the job. Let Honestly, we've been through a lot as a store. We've been through 6 district managers and 4 store managers right now. And if you put that into account, there's a lot of adaptability there. There's a lot of change. And not all of the changes have been good change. A lot of it's kind of been good. A lot of it's been, bad. And, I don't know if the bad outweighs the goodness in this case, but I was kind of getting fed up. I was also looking for something new. I graduate in December. Me and Lizzie both do, but I was at the point where I wanted to get out of there. So Lizzie can attest to this. I was putting in applications every single week.
How many applications do you think you had? 100?
No, not 100. I think
80?
I don't know. I don't think it was that.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
From January to April, I would say I put in 65 to 75 applications. And that was to internships, full-time jobs, part-time jobs, anything you could think of. And if you have applied anywhere during this time period, that it's a very tough market. I even almost took a job from Chick-fil-A, but I realized this isn't really what what my future kind of wants to be. So I would say through my 65 to 75 applications, I would say probably 20 to 25 got back to me. I went through probably the processes of 4 to 6 interviews. I went through 4 to 6 companies with interviews. Some of them went longer than others. Others went shorter than others. But this one opportunity came, and I'm not going to mention the name of the company because there's no reason to. But I believe this was a LinkedIn job. Let me just see where we're at time-wise. 47. Okay. So I'm not going to make this too long because we got another segment after this. But I found this job on LinkedIn. I applied to it, and they actually called me for an interview in person. Now, this was also a job in Raleigh. And what was interesting about this was I had never gone in person for an interview. And that was honestly a good sign for me because I like doing Zoom interviews to a certain degree, but at the same time, you can't have that person-to-person connection over a computer screen, in my opinion. So I get to that first interview. I think it goes decently well. So they called me back for a second interview, also in person. And they kind of just go over with me the job, and I thought it went okay. I didn't think it went great. So me and Lizzie were on the way to a concert. We'll have a concert episode later on for sure. This specific concert was Josiah Queen, and that was in Mooresville, North Carolina. Don't ask me where that is. I don't know. But we were on the way to our Josiah Queen concert, and I get an email that had the title of it was offer letter, and I was like, Lizzie, is this actually happening? This was May, I would say. This was May. Yeah, this was May. And I was like, Lizzie, is this actually happening? After 4 or 5 months of applying to jobs nonstop, something actually came, and I got the offer letter, and I was like, we were just driving, and both of us were like it was insane. We were both like, thank you, Lord, for this opportunity, and we were so happy about it. We definitely discussed it a lot. If I really wanted to take it, if I wanted to stay at Vans, and in the end, we came up with a decision to, I was very indecisive about it, but Lizzie was really helpful for me. She was like, Noah, you finally got this opportunity, and just do it. Nike, just do it. And now it comes to, I had to call Vans and tell them that I got a new job and put in my 2 weeks notice. So I put in my 2 weeks notice at Vans, and worked my last 2 weeks. It was really sad for me because I had to say goodbye to a lot of
so
nice people and good people and friends.
you had to put in. Did you call to put in your 2 weeks?
I called to put in my 2 weeks notice.
Because the reason is because if you had to put it in by a certain time, and he wasn't going to work within like the next like few days. So it's
Because
like
I gave the new job when I would start, which was a Monday, and then I had to call and say, so this will be my last day with Vans. This will be my first day with the starting company.
Yeah, and he had to do that not because he was trying to be unprofessional, because we know that quitting a job over the phone is not professional, but you were not going in, so it's like that was the last option. Anyways,
Yep. But I had a lot of questions for the my recruiter guy that I talked to. I called him while we were out to eat on that concert, and I just made sure everything was lining up. So I think I went in after I put in my 2 weeks notice. They called me in for one more thing, and I went in and they kind of just went over the job description with me and kind of went over what was to expect. And I had, like, Lizzie will attest to this, like, I asked them probably like 20 questions because I wanted to make sure. Yeah, it was a ton of questions. I wanted to make sure, like, if I'm putting all my cards on the table, like, I have to get this right, and I have to every one of my questions answered. And for example, this company was I would be selling healthcare insurance, or actually giving it away for free. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But so my first day, obviously I was sad to quit Vans, but I was willing to put all my cards on the table for this job because they took a chance on me and gave me an offer letter. So my first day at this job this was like the middle of May. So I go in for my first day, and I'm very nervous. I'm expecting, like, okay, this is a day where the training, they're going to get all my bank information, figure out like my direct deposit and all this stuff. So I go in to where I interviewed in, and I walk in the room. The funny thing about this location was they were always playing Steve Harvey on Family Feud, Steve Harvey on their TV, which is really funny. And they were always playing like pop music from like the 2013, so it was very funny. So I went in and they were playing, Steve Harvey. They were playing a pop music, and I go in where I originally sat to wait on my interview, and there was like 14 people in this area where I sat, and I was like, okay, there's a lot of people lined up here. Maybe I'm going to be like put into a training room or whatnot. So they put everybody in this big room. So I would say, I don't know like how, like, the dimensions of it, but it wasn't very big. It was very long, but it wasn't very wide. So I walk in, there's around 14, 15 people sitting there, and they call everybody's name to follow them to this middle room. And might I say, there's probably 100 people in this room, and we're very packed in there. Like, I was shoulder to shoulder with people that I didn't know, and it made me very uncomfortable. The good thing was I saw the two people I interviewed with, and I was like, hey, how are you doing? And both of them were like, and what was your name again? So that was kind of the first red flag for me.
But I was going to say, you had no red flags during the interviews, right?
Because every question I had got answered, and was answered correctly and the way I wanted it to be answered.
Yes, so there were like no previous red flags up to this point. Because, like Noah said, if he was risking it all, we were going to figure out, okay, is this and this and this and this and this, figure it out and answer for us.
Yeah. So I had no red flags going in. I walk in the door, there's a lot of people waiting. I was like, why is this so packed compared to what it was when I interviewed here? Because when I interviewed in there was maybe 6 people in the whole entire office, which was like crazy. So I went in there, and there was like 100 people, and they were like congratulating people on like their new promotions. That was for about an hour. It was like a big team meeting, and they were going over kind of like what we would be doing, like selling in the field and whatnot. Because it was like the insurance, so we would try to be getting people to get our insurance. They gave us kind of like the numbers behind it, and kind of the numbers behind how many people we're going to approach, how many people are actually going to not shun us, how many people are actually going to sign up, and how many people are actually qualified. And I was taking notes. I was like, yeah, this is my first day. I'm him,
and I was taking notes, and I was like, I feel so prepared or whatever. And they break us up into groups again, and we go into this little office room, and they put me with a guy that's been there for a month or two. And this company had just been started in the Raleigh area, so a lot of these people were brand new.
But it's elsewhere. Like it's been going.
It's been going on. It started off in Florida, I believe, and it's been going on elsewhere. So they just opened this Raleigh office, and what they literally said in that big meeting was they started with 4 people, and there was 100 people in that room about 8 weeks later from when they started, which is insane. How you can hire that many people, in that little time. So they put me into this group with this guy that's going to be the leader that's been there for a few weeks, and then 2 other people that are also newer, but also this isn't their first day like me. So they break us out into those groups, and then we walk to the parking lot. And I have my lunch with me. I have, a book bag with me and whatnot, just everything. I didn't know what was going to happen because I had no day in the life plans or whatever. So we're going straight to the parking lot. So I'm with the guy and the 2 other people, and we get to, now this is an insurance selling thing. I thought it was going to be like, okay, drive your own car, get in a shuttle bus, or something along the lines of that. We are walking with this guy, and he's walking to his vehicle. Now, I was like, okay, this is kind of different, but okay. I'm just going to keep an open mind and just roll with it. So he gets to his vehicle. This is the guy behind the wheel that's going to be driving. So he bends over and picks up this thing off the ground. I'm like, okay, this is very, very interesting. Did you have something to say?
I was going to say, it was weed. It was definitely weed. Yeah. Okay.
So he picks this thing off the ground, and I'm just like, okay, so what exactly is going on here? So he picks up this thing off the ground. It looks like a cigar, but it's a little thinner. I'm sheltered. I'm a Christian. I haven't been exposed to a lot of things. So he picks up this thing and starts smoking it. And it looks like a thinner cigar. And right away, I was like, that's weed. And I had never been around somebody smoking weed, or under the influence of anything like that. So I was very uncomfortable, to say the least, as I've been not necessarily sheltered my whole life, but had never been around stuff like that, never been exposed to that kind of stuff. So he was smoking weed, which is illegal in the state of North Carolina, obviously. But also, this was the guy that was going to be behind the wheel. So also, that's another sort of illegal, and that can definitely get you arrested. So long story short, I am standing there, and I probably debated getting in that vehicle 4 times. He was like, okay, just put your stuff in the back, and then you can get in the back seat. And it just wasn't very professional at all. So I was standing there. I was just like, I had my foot like at the door, and I was about to jump in. I was about to get in. And he was like, just go ahead and get in, and it'll be like everything will be okay or whatever. And I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I was never around that growing up. Obviously, I'd never been around that ever. So I just stood there, and I was just like, what do I do? Like fight or flight came in. I was like, what do I do in this situation? And I just stood there, and I was just like, should I get in this vehicle? And thankfully, if it wasn't for him smoking the weed, I think I would have got in because I didn't want to lose this job. But at the same time, I'm thankful that he was smoking weed, because that was kind of the pointer, a pointer to get me away from this. Also, I forgot to mention that throughout this whole thing, they never mentioned where we were going, which was kind of sus to me. Why would you tell us we're going to go sell something in the field but not give us a location? And also, if I got in the vehicle, what if we got pulled over by police and I was in a car with the guy smoking weed, and we could get pulled over and potentially I could get in trouble even though I had nothing to do with this, and I couldn't tell a police officer what location we were going to because I personally didn't know. I was just in the back of the car. That would look extremely suspicious. So I debate getting in the car, and honestly, everybody's looking at me. All three people are looking at me. I am standing there still. It's just funny looking back at it, but I literally walk away, don't say anything, and walk away. I walk away. They didn't really say my name or anything. They just kind of watched me walk, and I walked to the opposite side of this building and back to my car. When I got to my car, I kind of broke down because, this was very traumatic for me. I'd never gone through a ton of traumatic stuff in my life, but, being around something like that I've never been exposed to, and, starting a new job, quitting my other job to do something like this, I had a lot on the line, and everything failed. And, I definitely broke down. I called Lizzie first. She wasn't able to.
So as I mentioned earlier, at Chick-fil-A, I'm in operations for 3 hours a day. So I am getting prepared to go outside to drive through, to be a leader in drive through. And Noah calls me, and I'm like, I'm really not supposed to be on my phone for
Right.
personal matters. Like it's a Chick-fil-A rule.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Noah calls me, and I'm like, I try to give the best advice that I can.
Yeah, but
within a
she only
short
had
period of
like
time.
3 minutes. It was 10:57. She had 3 minutes until she went to drive through at 11, and she had really good advice to give, but there wasn't a lot of time to give it. So
I was like, I was like, okay, just go to Vans. Everything is okay. Just go to Vans and talk to your old manager and see if you can figure things out.
Yep. So from there, I called Lizzie. I called Vans. I was able to get in contact with one of my other managers, but my store manager was in a meeting, so I couldn't get in contact with her at the time. So after that, I called my mom. I talked to my mom for like 20 to 25 minutes. And it kind of taught me that, even though I have, moved on and gotten married and moved out of the house and things like that, you can always use your parents in time of need. And my mom was a really big help for me because, she's been in the job field for a long time. And, she gave me some really good advice. And, through that, I was able to have a good conversation with her and was able to kind of feel a little bit better about the decision I made. I mean, when I called Lizzie, she said, Noah, you made the right decision. When I called my mom, she said, Noah, you made the right decision. And even though I felt like really lonely and like clueless, like I know I made the right decision because my life could have been in danger for a job that really wasn't giving much to me. Like you shouldn't put your life in danger for a job, and that's definitely what I've learned through this. But let me make sure we're filming because you never know.
And I think I don't know if you mentioned this, Noah, but to slowly wrap it up. I think it was even harder for you to quit this job. We'll kind of walk away from it
because I put all my cards on the table.
Because there was how do I say this? There was a promise, kind of a promise at the end, after your 8-month period, you could step into this position and make very good money.
I was more interested in the job and the potential rather than the starter because the starting pay was not very good. It came out to $10 an hour, plus commission if you made your commission goals. But they literally told me the path I was on after 8 months. Thank you for bringing that up because I forgot about it. After 8 months, you would be guaranteed 6 figures plus commission, and that's kind of what I was wanting to get into. Looking back, it is way too good to be true for sure. And I'm not even sure if that's true, but yeah, looking back, definitely was too good to be true. But yeah, I called my mom. We had a good conversation. I went straight to Vans, and it was just awkward because I had already quit the job, and this was kind of the first day I would have worked. So I went in and waited for my manager to get off her call and had a conversation with her. Thankfully, my position was not filled. They hadn't even interviewed anybody for the position, so I was able to get my position back. And thankfully, I'm back there now. But I was in I wouldn't say near death experience, but I went through probably one of the most traumatic experiences of my life because of a job. But I think everything works out for a reason, and there have been things about the job that have turned into something good, which, is a great thing. But I'm back at Vans now. As Lizzie said, she doesn't really know exactly what she wants for her career as well. That's kind of the same boat I'm in. I'm in the works with a few things for my career right now. But definitely nothing is guaranteed in my career, and this kind of whole experience has taught me to get into a position with a job that you already know somebody with. Like, I knew nobody, but at this company, I knew nobody that worked for this company. Going forward, I'm not going to do that ever again. I'm going to go through a company that has somebody that I already know, have a connection to in some sort of way. And through that, find something I like within a career and find somebody that I know that works there and has a good experience throughout that job and has a lot of good things to say about it. So me and Lizzie are both undecided of what we want with our futures, but with her communications degree, with my business administration degree, there's definitely a lot of there's a lot of things we can go to. But that was, I thought it was a cat. It's like a hawk or something. But that's kind of our job history. I have a lot more to say about my 2 jobs, or technically 3 jobs. So my first day was my last day. I emailed the company saying that I quit.
Can't even hear back from him.
And they never got back to me.
I just think that shows
it was like a pyramid scheme. It was a scam. And I put all my cards on the table. And unfortunately, I lost. And
it just shows probably that they had more people quit that day than they could track. So,
yep. But they were trying to build up the company to become big. That's why there's 100 people in a room. So I'm glad I had the opportunity with them, but it definitely taught me a lot. And I'm grateful for the experience I went through because it taught me some very important life lessons, and I'll carry those probably the rest of my life. But that's me and Lizzie's job history. I know this is longer than our first episode already, but we're going to jump into our Q&A section.
Just super fast.
Super fast, yes, for sure. And, we're not going for the longer podcast, but Lizzie and I have a lot to say.
We're big mouths, for sure.
For sure. Okay. So let me open my computadora. Okay, so shout out to my good friend ChatGPT. ChatGPT has come up with 5 questions for a married couple to answer on a podcast. And they obviously cooked because it's ChatGPT. So, how did you 2 meet, and what was your first impression of each other? So what we'll kind of do, I'll explain how we met, which we explained in the last episode, and then you'll give your first impression of me. I'll give my first impression of you. So we met at church. I was visiting from, I left my old church and we were looking to join a new church. We eventually joined. We met at church and we didn't really talk much until we started dating July 1st of 2016. Lizzie, what was your first impression of me?
I'm trying to think.
Right. This is also 8 years ago.
So I don't think I really had a first impression. I just remember he had spiky hair.
Yep.
And it was like, it was gelled up. The spikes were long. So I just think that I didn't really have an impression, but that's the first thing that I noticed.
That's definitely true for sure. And my first impression of you was a jean skirt, probably. I think that's the first memory I have of you is wearing like a jean skirt and then like a normal top or something. I remember your hair always being straight and that you were a little bit taller than me, but you also looked exactly like your brother.
Oh my goodness.
So you were like a female version of Andrew. Okay, so number 2, what has been the biggest challenge you faced together and how did you overcome it? So you might have a different answer than me, so you can go first with that.
So, we've definitely faced a good amount of challenges together. Nothing like crazy. Me and Noah, I would say we don't really argue. The thing with us is like we talk it out, and me and Noah are so similar. We usually have the same answer on a lot.
Yeah.
The answers and opinions on a lot of things. If he disagrees with me, we're not gonna hound it out. It's okay. Let's just talk this out and see if your perspective is better than mine, or if mine, and so forth. So. I'm going to base this when it comes to marriage. So the biggest challenge is, I don't know. I would say maybe, we come from different backgrounds. Not super different. We were raised in church and so forth. But, when we first got married, and still to this day, I do some things differently than Noah does. And it's like, okay, let's come together and figure out how to do this our own way.
Yep.
You know, and okay, the way that I was taught to do it, it's not necessarily better than yours, and the way you were taught to do it is not necessarily better than mine. It's okay, let's figure this out together. And the reason I would say that was hard is I don't know, just like coming together on that and not being like, well, my way's better than yours. And the way I
Yep.
was taught. So I would just say just talking it out and figuring out like we're now a family unit, so
Yep.
figuring out what's best for our family unit.
Yeah. You kind of did more marriage. I'm just gonna go relationship in general. Biggest challenge we faced has been wedding planning, I would say.
Yeah, that was
Definitely because it was a long period of time, and there was a lot of steps to it. You have to do a lot to make a wedding perfect, and we were pretty close to making it perfect. But it took a lot of work, mostly Lizzie, but when I could help, I did. And I would say wedding planning. We'll get into that in another episode. But it was a really big challenge, and
it's a different kind of stress.
yeah, it's different type of stress, and we faced it together. We overcame it because we got married, and I would say wedding planning was probably the biggest challenge we've ever faced, and probably the hardest thing we've ever done together. So number 3, how do you maintain a healthy and happy relationship amidst busy schedules and daily stresses? For me, Lizzie just said we don't argue. That's a big thing for me. Even yesterday, Lizzie got up early to go to work. And I went into work at 2. We didn't see each other until 9:30 last night. So maintaining a healthy and happy relationship, giving Lizzie a phone call, when she can talk, giving Lizzie a text message, Lizzie texting me. There's a lot of things going on in our lives, but even a day like today, we're putting time together on Lizzie's day off, and I'm going in later tonight. But we're going to go out and enjoy lunch together, and we're also filming this podcast together, and spending time together and actually putting in an effort to give time to one another, because obviously do unto others is you would want them to do unto you. That's biblical, and I think we maintain our healthy and happiness because of our love for each other first off, but also because we are not argumentative, and we always, although we both have to work a lot and there's a lot going on, we are working for each other and for our future family, and to be able to pay off our bills and things like that.
And also to add on to what Noah was saying is another bonding thing we do is cooking dinner together.
Yeah.
So if we worked all day and we get home, let's say 5:36, it's okay, so instead of Noah coming and sitting on the couch and me cooking,
yeah,
he helps.
It's a dual effort.
Yeah,
I don't want Lizzie doing anything by herself. I try to help her when I can. With trash and recyclables and folding laundry, and helping her with groceries, and whatever I can do to help, I do. And I think that's something that really binds us together as a couple and doesn't set us apart. If I'm over here on the couch and she's working hard in the kitchen, that's not a dual effort, right. And you're not being a relationship. You're being a single individual doing one thing, a single individual doing another thing. Yeah. So did you answer that fully the way you wanted to?
Yeah.
Cool. So 4, can you share a memorable or funny moment from your time together that stands out to you both?
Oh my gosh.
There's
two.
Billions.
Yeah.
For sure. A memorable or funny moment. Let's see here. There's literally so much like I could write a whole book about memorable and funny moments. It's just choosing the correct one. Let's see. Okay, we'll skip that and come back to it.
Yeah, let's come back to it.
Because there's just too much to think about. Okay, number 5, what advice would you give to newlyweds or couples looking to strengthen their relationship? I'll let you go first on that one.
So I would say, talking to just, having conversation with other couples and, being married. I think that a lot of husbands tend to, like we said in a previous question, okay, well, the woman's supposed to be in the kitchen. The woman's supposed to clean the house. The woman's supposed to do this. The woman's supposed to do that. No, it's a joint effort. This is not just a woman's house. This is our house. and etc. Um, so I would say that, and also, there's no need to argue.
Yeah.
Just talk it out. Um, I would say, like I said, me and Noah's opinions are very similar on things, and Noah is just not an argumentative person. He's just not. So when we have a disagreement, it's like, okay, let's talk this out and see the root of the problem. Let's see how to fix it, and let's see, not necessarily who was right,
Yeah.
but let's come to a decision together.
Together, yeah, for sure.
So I would say, because I really appreciate when like Noah helps me out,
Yeah.
and I'm not doing it alone. It is good bonding time.
Yeah.
So just husbands, even wives, just like help out one another, and there's no need to argue. Just talk it out.
One thing me and Lizzie always talked about when we were dating was how slow we took things. Now, that's the best advice I could give a new couple, or
Yes, that is very
and
good.
a newlywed even. We've known couples that have rushed into marriage, and things haven't ended up being good. We've also known couples that have rushed into a relationship and they break up in a month. So the one thing that set me and Lizzie apart, we dated for
6,
almost 7.
7.
Well, we've been together almost 8 years,
Yeah,
but
so
we got married a little after our 7-year anniversary. So we dated for like 6.5 years. And the first 2 years, Lizzie would attest to it, like we went really, really slow. And I think a lot of
to the point where we didn't even have our first kiss until a year and a half or 2 years after we started dating.
right, and like that, rushing into things, like it's not very it like if you're rushing into things and trying to get to first, second, third base like so quickly, like you're not gonna sit back and enjoy the time you spend with each other. And everything's not about like getting extremely like touchy with each other. Like that's not what everything's about.
And I would say, like, me and Noah, to like jump into what you were saying, like
Yeah.
like not only are we a couple, but like we're best friends too.
Yeah.
So I think that is also another big thing. It's like people are so worried about, okay, like hugging and kissing and this and that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but is the root of it, or like, are you best friends?
Yeah. And I would definitely say my best advice for couples would be to take it slow. No reason to rush things. You have the rest of your life to worry about. If you're really serious about this person, and they will definitely respect being, if you both want this relationship to work out, being slow in the relationship and not going super fast with things will definitely help out. And that's definitely what has gotten us to what we are today. The slowness of how we started, and so we just slowly and slowly gravitated to becoming closer and becoming best friends.
Yeah.
So memorable and funny moment number 4 again.
Sure thing.
So I think there's just so many for me to go into, but as a married couple, one of the funniest things that's happened for both of us is, so when it's bedtime, like we go to bed, and for whatever reason we stay up for another hour just talking usually.
And dying laughing.
Yes, that's the thing. Like that's what I was gonna say. Like we just like find humor in the stupidest things, and like we'll just like say something from our day and then like just start dying laughing to the point where we can't breathe anymore. Like it'll be the most random situational thing that happened during the day, or like just a funny inside joke we'll just like spit out in the middle of the night. And it's not even like there's nothing like crazy about it. It's just like a normal thing that you would say, but like when you're halfway asleep, like stuff's just funny. So I would say I have many memorable and funny moments, but like just when we go to bed, to sleep, and we just start saying stuff, and it's just randomly funny for no reason. That's something that definitely
I like that.
stands out. But I mean, I think that'll go for both of us,
Yeah,
unless you have a
that'll go for
different
both
answer.
Honestly, we have, hundreds of dating moments.
Yeah.
We could do a whole episode about it. Like,
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So that will continue into another episode.
Yeah, but this episode went much longer than we expected and wanted it to, and we're both very hungry.
Sorry, y'all.
So that was our job experience. For me, I've had a lot of long tenure at jobs, but also this most recent happening has been traumatic for me. So the next steps are, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the next steps are coming up soon. Excuse me, as we both graduate. And then for Lizzie, she's had numerous jobs, but she's still trying to find her purpose and jobs, as she has a lot of experience in a lot of different fields. But throughout her 6 different jobs, I know she's learned a lot and can take good and bad things from every job and eventually find exactly what she's looking for. But we're sorry for the length of this podcast. If you made it to the end, we really appreciate you guys.
You're the real ones.
And we intend to come out with a new episode every Wednesday. But as times change, things change. We'll keep you guys updated. We should have an Instagram page and YouTube channel coming out soon.
Momentarily.
So we're definitely in the works for that. But we hope you guys enjoyed our story of our job history, and we hope you guys will stay tuned for our next video. Just keep an eye out every single Wednesday. No specific time, but we'll try to get that episode out every single Wednesday for you guys. But without any further ado, we're gonna say goodbye and see you later.
We love you guys.